Welcome to The Disruption Is Now. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore how AI is impacting our jobs, careers, lives, and the human experience. Each episode, host Greg Matusky will converse with visionaries and innovators at the forefront of AI, diving into its challenges, opportunities, and impact. So buckle up as we venture into the heart of disruption, and together, let's unfold the future.
The Disruption Is Now is on the road. We're back in Las Vegas at the Venetian at Money20. It's a very exciting trade show, one of the largest in Fintech. And we're talking to a lot of owners, co-founders, and CEOs of companies that are changing the face of fintech. AI, of course, is at the top of the list, and it's dominating what's going on here today. We're going to learn that from some of our leading thought leaders. We'll have them on camera, ask them the hard questions as well as some softball questions about what's happening in the world of finance and technology. Well, we're back at Money20. Once again, the 2025 show is off and running. It's The Disruption Is Now. I'm your host, Greg Matusky. I'm also the CEO of Gregory FCA. And we're going to start off with a strong one. We're going to talk with Chris Hilliard. He is the co-founder and CEO of Winnow, which is a technology that allows for compliance in the lending and mortgage industry for both law firms and for financial institutions, as well as investors. Chris, did I get that right? Am I like babbling?
You got that right. No, the elevator pitch is getting strong already, and we just met. So no, it's right. We do all the financial services, really except student lending. So.
Well, I'm really interested because you do touch law firms, and law firms are the most resistant organizations in the world to anything that has to do with automation or AI. I understand you're using it for natural language processing, but tell me a little bit about your step into this and what the origination of the company as the co-founder.
Sure, yeah, I'll try to keep it brief.
No, you can keep it as long as you want.
As long as I like, okay. We really started from the point of there was a significant amount of need in the market for information. Lenders, fintechs, they didn't know what regulations were applicable to them, and we were there to say, all right, well, we can give you this information that's catered to you based upon the license that you have, the charter you may hold, the products that you offer. We can give it to you right away, as opposed to going to a law firm, which is, we'll get to later, going to a law firm and getting a survey that costs, $50,000 to $250,000, and the second they hand it to you, it's out of date. In Winnow, you can run that same survey, get just what's applicable to you, and have it be evergreen. We monitor it in the background.
And this actually came from the legal industry, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It did. We founded the company with the Buckley law firm, and we had access to over 140 attorneys at the Buckley firm. The partners supported it. We're not VC driven, which we probably couldn't have been born out of anything other than a law firm. So we spent over 64,000 hours as of this morning building Winnow for just the information. And then I've got a team of 4 attorneys that just do everything to maintain it. So that's one of the things different.
So this really is a match between the machine and the human being and what you're doing. And tell me where the machine comes into play.
So once we have the information in Winnow and we've got all the products, and now we're just maintaining it with attorneys, that's all done. That's all attorney content. You don't have to worry about that. When you go in and use AI in Winnow, you're asking plain language questions and getting plain language answers. That's just our data set. So it's just a walled garden of attorney, researched, reviewed, and published content, which is different than anyone else in the market.
So within lending institutions such as bank and credit unions, you're working with the compliance officers. Who's your idealized customer, your perfect customer?
I would love to give you an individual, I would love to give you an ICP that we have. The issue is we actually transgress a lot of different departments. We work with general counsels, we work with chief compliance officers and their departments, we work with enterprise risk management, we work with investors on the acquisition side, work with lawyers obviously as well too. So really, and we also do work with consultancy companies and quality assurance companies. So it's kind of all over the place. I'd love to tell you that we have an ICP, but it's so disparate as to who's actually using it, which is good and bad because we're trying to cater for multiple different audiences.
And the natural language process is really your secret sauce, if I understand correctly, that anyone can go to it and using simple language, call up compliance issues and laws from every region, district, authorization agency in the country.
Exactly. So if you want to ask one question, get a quick answer, the AI is the easiest to do it. Or you can run a survey and get something nationwide if you want. We give you the answers to both. The thing is, when you're looking at just our data set and you have just what's inside of Winnow working for your question, the accuracy is significantly higher than going to another GPT model or something like that.
What I really like about it is that it was originated by subject matter experts. It came from within a law firm. I know I've created a few platforms at my PR firm, and I've found if I work with people who don't understand the business of PR, it's a lot more complicated and you make a lot more mistakes as you go through the process. In the end, you don't really meet the customer's needs, right? So I think it was brilliant that it comes from a law firm and it's directed at answering those legal and compliance issues that their customers would want to know most often. Your thoughts?
No, I mean, I agree, and I would say that honestly, as much as AI and don't get me wrong, we're talking about AI this entire conference. As much as AI has been extremely helpful, having that human in the loop and having that human expert behind it is absolutely critical. If you don't, you end up honestly with confabulations and hallucinations. You also end up with things that sound empty or they have a good looking answer. It's a wonderful looking answer, but it doesn't actually answer the question or really address the subject matter.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. It's so affirmative with the answer and it's so sure of itself that it's particularly open to chaos, because you figure if anybody can articulate it this well, it must be accurate. And in fact, it often isn't. So I think having your legal staff go over it and extract the changes in the law is critical to your application. Let me ask about where you're going. Where do you think this will evolve to? Are you going to add more kinds of services to it, or do you think this would be an add-on to some other company out there that's actually got more of the end-to-end solution for law firms?
So we spent a year and a half just building the data entry tool for Winnow, and we made it information agnostic. So we can bring in anything. We can bring in insurance law, we can bring in FDA compliance, anything that anybody would like to. We just, at Buckley, just had subject matter expertise, and now at Oric, that's the expertise that we have. We can bring in whatever we like. I'd love to see more added, but also I think that Winnow as a company can be a significant value add to a captive that's already in the market that's looking to augment, potentially a GRC system or a complaint tracking and management system, really, or making a complete suite. We were talking about that earlier, making a complete suite of products, basically. So we kind of have the ability to continue to go on and stand alone, but I think we can also grow faster and into other areas by partnering with someone that already has that subject matter expertise and that product built in other markets.
Well, I can tell you, I have a lot of banking clients, and I think the service is wonderful. A lot of them that have gotten into trouble simply because they misread a regulation or they didn't understand the regulation. Case in point, I had a client that got in trouble with the DOJ with regard to what had traditionally been calling redlining, and I guess the rule had changed. They no longer do redlining according to complaints, they do it statistically by zip code. And they had been marketing via their branches, and some of their branches weren't in their charter, where they were chartered, and they got caught up in the realm. But I think what would be great about yours is, first, I think they could avoid that. Second, right, it would take them away from the tedium so that they could really act in a way which fulfilled the intent of the law, which is squishy. That law is not real firm. So I love what you're doing. I want to thank you for being with us. You're the first interview of the day from Money 2020. I hope you have a great show because your service is much needed in the complexities that lenders and investors deal with. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. I really appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful show as well, too. Thank you.
Well, we're back here at the first day of Money 2020, here 2025. It's been a great show so far. Our first interview was really with a small emerging company. Now we've got a big player in our midst, a leader in payment technology, Stax. I'm here with Adam Gray. He's Chief Transformation Officer at Stax, and we're going to talk a little bit about the transformation going on in small to mid-sized business payments. Thanks, Adam. Let's get right into it. So as a Chief Transformation Officer, what are you transforming?
Thanks, Gregory. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here in this energy at Money 2020. My job is a really cool job because I get to execute against strategy. So we all talk about how to execute our strategy at Stax Payments, also how to help our partners. And so I come in and look at organic and inorganic opportunities to bring the future to reality for them and for us. And so I've spent the last 3 years at Stax building on that vision.
Well, before this interview, I asked you, what's the secret sauce about Stax as compared to some of your large competitors? Tell me a little bit about that, how you originated and where you think that gives you a good lane to drive in.
Yeah, Stax is about a 10-year-old company that started this DNA about being transparent and being a disruptor. They brought subscription services to the direct merchant consumer, and they were an early adopter of that. And so we've built on that vision and continue to do that about bringing new information, new data to innovate and unlock. But we do it with a white glove support. So we're all US-based support, we give them white glove implementation, and in helping software companies also deliver that payments revenue. So that's really what differentiates us.
And when we went into it, you were talking a little bit about the friction on the side of the merchant, what they face as far as transacting business and optimizing revenue. Let's go into some of those frictions and maybe how machine learning or AI, as you see that, overcoming that.
Yeah, I would love to say 3 years ago, we started building out what we call Stax Processing today, which is an end-to-end processor. It's been an amazing journey for us. I would love to say this is all because we knew AI was just going to take off like a rocket ship. But it was really about those friction points.
But you were just like us all, surprised with the emergence of AI. So go back to the friction points.
But we did see friction points that are still relevant today now that we can use AI. And that's about not disrupting the funding and the merchant flows. So how do we help the software company help their consumers, these direct merchants, have the right fraud, risk prevention, control points without disrupting the money movement. So they need these protections, but they don't want to delay funding, they don't want to hold up transactions, they want a smooth process. And that's where we're trying to innovate and bring forward some of the things we've unlocked with Stax Processing.
And how exactly do you do that? I mean, do you talk closely with your merchants and understand what upsets them, what creates these frictions? Or is it you simply know the business and think this would be a better way to do it?
No, we've got two main channels that I love interacting with. One is we've kept our direct merchant business. So we have over 30,000 small merchant businesses we serve. We do surveys, we do feedback loops with them, we get their Google reviews, we read them all, Trustpilot. But also on our partner side, the software companies we embed with payments, we run a partner advisory council. So we meet with them twice a year. I was just in Atlanta a month ago with all of our key partners talking about what are your challenges for 2026? How do we unlock new things? I don't want to go sell them something, I want to solve their pain points, and that's really what I'm trying to do is connect those dots.
So you're so embedded in the payment side of this with all these hundreds of thousands of businesses. Any thought about expanding that realm and doing more for them in the way of marketing or anything like that with regard to what the data that you're getting on the payment side?
No, that's a great question. That is what a lot of our competitors are doing, is trying to sell them new things. I'm actually taking the view, and Stax is taking the view of, we want to do what we really do well, which is the payment processing, giving you secure transactions, but unlocking the data in an agnostic way so we can funnel that revenue growth. So we're not trying to monetize and come to you and say, hey, we're going to sell you this new marketing to unlock based on credit card product types now that you can get this data. We want to provide the data in a way that you can feed your models. So we're really unlocking this innovation. Here at Money 2020, there's all these companies that are going to bring lots of ideas that they can go bring in and partner with to do new things, but it's all going to be based on getting the data.
So I always ask this as one final question with everyone on the show is, what surprised you most about AI and the business you're in, and where do you think its best promise lies?
The adoption rate. I think like all of us, I've never seen anything and it gets me so excited. It's like the internet. It's the adoption rate curve of people embracing this. The Gen Z is just under 50% of Gen Z want to use agentic AI to make their purchases. 2 years ago, that wasn't even...
What was that number again?
Just under 50% of
That's
Gen
awesome.
Z. 2 years ago, they didn't even know what that meant.
Right.
That's insane that half that market group that's our main buyers that are growing want agentic AI there. So we need to provide them the tools, the rails, and the information to do that and provide it to software companies that can unlock that for them.
Well, I hope you have a great show. I know we're having it so far. I want to thank you for your time, for being with us. And let's stay in touch. I'd love to see what 2026 holds for Stax and how AI unlocks even more opportunities for your merchants.
That sounds great, Gregory. I really appreciate meeting you and getting to share some of our insights at Stax.
Thanks, Adam. Well, we're back from the floor of Money 2020. We've met a lot of interesting companies, no less than the company that I have standing right next to me. Daniel Aguilar is the business development head of Prometeo. Am I saying it right?
Yes, you're doing right.
And it's really focused on trying to reduce the friction of doing transactions between U.S. banks and financial institutions in Latin America. Daniel, you were telling me a little bit about those frictions. Tell me about that and what you're trying to provide the banks.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Greg. Yes, with Prometeo, we're trying to connect all the financial institutions across the Americas. We're born in Latin America. We're born in Uruguay. It's a great big fintech in open finance. What we're trying to connect is different institutions to make easier the payments processing in the Latin America and between the Latin American industry and the North American too.
And you're working with some pretty substantial organizations, institutions, JP Morgan, I understand.
Oh, yes.
And you just did a deal recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Or
Yes,
is it...
actually we have a strong operation in Latin America. We born there. And this year we come to North America to open the market. And we are happy close big deals here. JP Morgan is one of them. We are doing the account verification for them.
That's
Yes.
terrific. Now, what's interesting to me is that you're really doing the heart of AI. You have agents, agentic AI,
Oh, yes.
which is actually working behind the scenes to do all the verification. Walk us through that so we can understand a little bit about the real nature of the complexities of what you're doing.
And yes, because we're born with APIs, so we are API based. All the solution, all our solution have an API behind. So we are an infrastructure for all the banks or financial institutions. What we do is create the agent with the models, the agent with AI, to communicate to another agents to solve the exact problem that we have. The open an account in some bank in the Americas, to transfer money, to do pay-ins or payouts between the institutions. So if you want to, you can chat through WhatsApp or iMessage with an agent to resolve any single problem that you have with the institution.
And these agents can actually open accounts, verify accounts, do the work that humans once did within this whole realm.
Yes, it is. Yes, because the use cases can be anything. Yeah, it can be from the banking institution or simple private companies. Because you have the problem to, send money to some places. So you need to send the money, but you don't have the the knowledge to open an account in some country that you didn't know. So this agent can do all for you. They can open the account, can move the money, can verify the account of the payee or to receive the money. Yes.
And this is a real obstacle because these are millions of transactions and many of them get rejected, I understand, because it's not filled out correctly. This isn't an issue of fraud, it's an issue of human accuracy a lot of times.
Yes, we have the fraud in one hand, but in this case, we have the human error or the system error. When you send the money cross-border payments, money from to another country, to another bank. Actually, that's why Prometeo is coming, because some banks here in the United States doesn't know the banks in Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil. So you just send the money, and if you put wrong the account number, they rejected the payment after you pay the fees. So you need to fix the error, pay another time the fees, and send the money again. So
now, you were sharing with me, and I found this interesting, just the degree of talent of agentic AI talent and developers in Latin America. And you mentioned in Colombia, Mexico, and Uruguay. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about the sophistication of what's going on in Latin America.
Oh yes, yes. It's different in every single country because, for example, you don't have the same ID in every single country. In Chile, for example, you have just one ID. In Colombia, you have like 7 IDs, different IDs. The kids have one, the adults have another one, you have the passport, and you have different ID. So you have different situations between the countries. The name matching is the same, because in one hand, you need to verify the account, and you know the account is valid. But you need to verify that the name that belongs to that account is real and is perfect match for that.
And this is over 11 countries you're doing this with?
Yes, more than 10 countries. Like
and
11.
Dozens of banks?
A dozen of banks, yes.
Well, hey, congratulations. Welcome to America. Keep building it out.
Yes.
It'll be important, I think, as global trade continues its tumultuous
This is an amazing
journey.
year for us and for everyone. Yes.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for being with us.
No, my pleasure. See you next year here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks so.
Well, we're chugging along here at Money 2020, and I'm excited because I ran into a fellow wealth tech enthusiast.
Yes.
I'd like to introduce Casey Williams. She's a partner at Fenway Summer, which is a VC firm in DC, and it works with a lot of wealth tech companies and startups. You are seed investors. Tell us a little bit about the firm, the kind of deals you invest in, and why you're here at Money 2020.
Well, I think you summed it up really well, Greg. Thank you so much for having me as part of the podcast and part of this event. So Fenway Summer, we are U.S. fintech focused, primarily early stage, and really our focus is anything and everything that touches money in the U.S. Right? Very broad. We like to look at a bunch of different things, but at the end of the day, we do tend to be very thesis driven. All we're looking at is fintech and financial services. So we like to go really deep on companies there, and our kind of expertise, or maybe what makes us a little bit unique, is that all of our investors come from a regulatory or policy background in addition to coming from a financial services
so
or
they
fintech
understand
background.
the business, they understand the friction.
Yeah,
of
and
the
so we
business.
try and bring kind of that perspective of how does regulation and policy impact innovation to early stage companies, which I think is something that not a lot of early founders get on their cap tables.
That's true. I, as a PR firm, we benefit a lot from that because we understand the compliance issues and the regulatory issues, so we don't have to worry about it. We know what can be said and what can't be said, so I can empathize with you.
And it gives a lot of peace of mind, I'm sure, to the RIAs that you work with, and I think that can be similar for the founders that we work with, that we can help them on kind of black and white compliance things. You need a money transmitter license, you're registering with the SEC. We've done all of those things a time or two, but also the broader strategy of how regulatory agencies change under different leadership, when you should engage with a regulator, are there policymakers that you should be talking to, is there legislation in the works, and how does that impact what you're building?
Well, let's really focus
Yeah.
on the wealth tech market and RIAs because we share that interest.
Yeah.
Tell me what your view is as far as technology, as far as AI, and how that'll impact the industry.
So I am really excited for the ways that generative AI will impact wealth management, both in terms of sort of the behind the scenes ways that advisors' jobs are just going to get easier, and they're going to be able to do their jobs much better
With the
because
back office.
they have this automation and essentially can let the machines do what the machines do best, so the humans can do what the humans do best. I am also excited for AI consumer-facing applications in wealth management, but as we were kind of talking about before we started rolling, I do think that wealth management is such an emotional space in people's financial lives. It's full of, friction, and there might be, emotional differences between family members, spouses, and it's just a difficult topic to talk about. These things like, how do you leave your legacy? Life insurance, estate planning, these are all like emotionally complex topics.
These are real issues that really drive the business that I think are overlooked by outsiders who don't understand that, for instance, a mixed family has all kinds of issues. Your legacy has all kinds of issues, and that will never replace the human. I mean, this is more than human in the loop. I hate that term because it always suggests they're just in the loop. But with wealth management, I think it's human at the center with regard to those emotional issues. Am I talking nonsense, or what do you think?
I completely agree. We actually invested directly into an RIA a couple of years ago called Rightwise Wealth for this very reason. We saw that a lot of the value creation of these different tools is still going to accrue to the RIA. And so we just wanted like a direct slice of that industry. So I completely believe that advisors are not going to be disrupted by AI. They're going to be enhanced by AI, the ones that really adopt it and use it well. Because I think that at the end of the day, people do still want to have a conversation with a human that they trust. And that level of trust and relationship is very hard to replicate with your phone or with a computer.
And it's coming to kind of a cliff in the industry, right? You have a lot of, let's say, 60-year-old advisors with gray hair. I think that describes me. And they don't know what their succession plan is going to be. They don't know if they should scale. They don't know what role technology should play in their firms. So for them, what do you think the best strategy is?
Well, I have to plug one of our other portfolio companies directly called Wayvest. I think if any RIA is struggling with what does my succession plan look like, they should look up this company. It's an AI native platform that allows RIAs to offer tech-enabled services to their clients in a way that blends the best of advisor relationships with AI native technical financial planning.
Tell me more. How do you recreate relationships with AI?
So the platform really is the underpinning that gives you all of the basics that you need to get a relationship started. So investment management, financial planning, life insurance, tax management, estate planning, but it's just the fundamentals. It's just what gets somebody to start to understand why it's important to think about all of these things. It has a chat feature where they can get their basic questions answered. And as soon as they start to become more complex in terms of their needs, the advisor can actually access all of that data from the Wayvest platform and use that to have a direct relationship with them.
And then jump into the relationship when it's appropriate.
Right. So it's helpful for, sometimes you talk to clients that are just a little bit below your minimum requirement maybe, or they're at a phase of life where they're not quite complex enough to need an advisor today, but you know that they're going to be an awesome client 5 years from now, right? How do you keep that person warm and how do you keep them connected to your firm if in 5 years they're just going to go off and find somebody else? Wayvest is a great option for that.
Yeah, that's the real game, is you don't know who's going to be the big winners and losers. And if they're below your minimum, you walk away from an entire demographic and the whole future if you can't service them. And AI and some of the tech platforms allow you to service them on the one end of the spectrum and create scale. Or you could recreate a firm that's a quasi-family office with using some of the more advanced tools that would give you more insight into estate planning, into compliance, into regulation, into taxation, all the things that you really have to think about as you become more successful in life.
It's that operational efficiency and the cost effectiveness that kind of gives you the best of both worlds, right? You can expand the clients that you're working with on the lower end of the financial spectrum if that's something that you want to do, but you can also increase the amount of services that you can provide across all your clients because you're not having to pen and paper this and you're not having to piecemeal together a bunch of different point solutions. I think that that's something that is really exciting in the wealth management space. Advisors that I talk to are using dozens of SaaS-based point solutions for, this thing for estate planning, this thing for stock and option vesting, right? And all of these tools now are being consolidated into platforms where you can really get a holistic sense of this is the client that I'm working with and can go really deep on the niche specific topics that they need.
Well, fantastic. It's fortuitous that we bumped into each other here at Money 2020 because we do share a big market, and I'm sure to be in contact with you after this. How can someone get in touch with you, Casey?
So our website is www.fenwaysummer.com. Our whole team has our email addresses on that website. Mine is just my name, casey.williams@fenwaysummer.com. I'm happy to get emails into my inbox. That is the primary way that you can consistently ensure that you will get a response from me. I do my best across LinkedIn and the other social media platforms, but I gotta admit that I'm not the most reliable on there.
So email you directly.
Happy to do it.
Well, thanks for spending the time with us. It's been insightful, and I hope to connect in the future.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks. Well, we're back at Money 2020 and we're changing gears a little bit, getting off AI, talking a bit about crypto because that's a big topic of Money 2020. And I'm here with the CEO and founder of Loop Crypto, Eleni Steinman, and she's well, I think really meeting the market as digital assets become the means of trade globally, opening new markets for both merchants and consumers. Thanks for being with us,
Yeah,
Eleni.
thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
So give me a little bit of your background. How does somebody get into this?
Oh, well, I originally got into crypto because I think like a lot of people, I read the Bitcoin white paper. I thought it was super interesting technology and could see how it could change how global payments work. I got a job at a crypto company that was working at very low level infrastructure. They were trying to get paid in crypto and it was difficult, and so my co-founder and I left to really solve the core use, which is how do you move money across the world.
So the friction was really on the merchant side and how to set up the infrastructure to receive crypto and stablecoin. And you've done a great job of that. I understand that your transactions are up significantly year over year. I want to talk a little bit about what you think is causing that.
Yeah, our transaction count's up 315% year over year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's driven by, honestly, both sides of the market. Merchants are more open and willing to accept crypto or stablecoin as a payment method, and more consumers have it in their wallet. And so when a consumer tells a merchant, hey, I want to pay you, but you don't accept my preferred payment method, merchants listen and they start to adopt.
Terrific. Tell me a little bit about the nature of these transactions, where they tend to come from globally, why perhaps the international markets this is more common in those areas.
Yeah, so when we look at the map of where the payers are, about 15% are in the US, which means 85% are outside. The largest countries, surprisingly, are in Europe and Asia. So we see a lot of transactions from Germany, from the Netherlands, from Poland, the UK, and then in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam. I think the reason that stablecoins have really taken off cross-border is because it's actually quite difficult for a merchant to accept a local payment method. Most merchants, maybe in the US, say, pay me in a credit card, but if you're living in Vietnam, you might not have a credit card, but you do have crypto. And so a merchant can add stablecoin or crypto acceptance and now be seen as a local payment method in about 120 countries.
So as a small emerging brand, how do you find these merchants overseas? How do they seek you out and come to the doorstep of Loop Crypto when you have limited marketing budgets, I would assume?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time on SEO. A lot of merchants find us online. I try to write a lot on LinkedIn just about the stablecoin space in general, but it really is either someone has used us and then they end up working at a company that wants to use us, or they find us online. More and more, we have partnerships. So we are natively embedded in a company called OpenPay. They recently got acquired by AirWallex. And so now if you're using the subscription product of AirWallex, you can de facto use Loop as your payment processor.
Can you go into that subscription model a bit, because that is kind of your secret sauce, and explain to us the nature of that transaction?
Yeah, so most crypto pay options are click a button and send. And if you're doing a recurring payment, that is a friction that a merchant wants to avoid at all costs because it leads to high churn. And with our product, you're able to allow the customer to click a button that basically says, hey, you can pull money from my wallet every month when the payment comes due. And so we're able to unlock autopay so that customers can, increase their sales month over month versus just having that one-time payment.
And what's the magic behind all that architecture that you've put in place? Give us some insight into just what it took to get to this point.
Yes. So we're really crypto people that are building a payment solution, and it took understanding how blockchains work. So we have a smart contract, we run some bots and server, we have RPC nodes. We basically run a bunch of crypto infrastructure that allows us to get that approval, monitor it, make sure that the payment method has enough balance, allow customers to modify what method they're paying with. And so because we understand blockchains at their core, we're able to build this solution.
So talk me through some of the legal requirements and some of the safeguards that you have in place to thwart the bad guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, we always check the wallet that's paying you. So the nice thing, again, about crypto, in some ways, it is completely transparent. So we can run the wallet check against a list of bad actors. We can screen for what country that you're in. And so we can put a lot of safeguards on the front end of who's paying you and what are they paying you for. And then the other sort of novelty of a blockchain payment is we actually are never a custodian. The money goes directly from the consumer to the merchant, and we just orchestrate that flow on a blockchain, which means instant settlement, finality in a transaction. It really is digital cash.
So give me some idea why you're here at Money 2020. Are you looking for partnerships to embed your technology? Are you looking for investors? There's not many merchants here, so we'll skip that, but go ahead.
No, definitely partnerships. As we see more and more large fintechs adopt stablecoins for money movement, adopt stablecoins for banking, it's natural that they now want to offer complementary pay products, and we are APIs that can be completely white labeled that can allow someone who is serving a merchant for all of their treasury and payment needs to add in crypto or stablecoins as another rail alongside every other rail that they offer.
Help me out a little bit, because my area of expertise is AI, and we're a little bit off the topic, but tell me about stablecoins, where you think that's going. If we came back from a year from now, what would you tell? What would be surprising, different, and expansive?
I think this rate at which stablecoins are growing is just going to continue to increase because it truly is better, faster global rails, and it is a clear competitive point for how traditional payments are being orchestrated. So I could see a world that under the hood for all fintechs, you're actually holding a stablecoin. The end consumer doesn't need to know that, but the infrastructure that's now powering any payment or any global money movement can be built on really high-speed rails.
So help me out and let the world know if you're a merchant out there and you want to get into the Loop Crypto family. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, you can go to our website, loopcrypto.xyz. You can email me directly. It's just my first name, Eleni, E-L-E-N-I, at loopcrypto.xyz. And we'd be happy to chat.
And you can read some of your LinkedIn posts, I assume.
Yes, anytime. Maybe.
Well, thanks for being with us. It's insightful, and good luck. Maybe a year from now, we'll see that your transactions are going up 1,000% a year. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Fun.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, it's late in day 2 here at Money 2020. It's been an explosive day, just incredible activity on the show floor. And I'm here with Todd Rovak, and he's the CEO and founder of Carefull. And this concept was brought to my attention by my associate, Amanda, who was walking through the trade show floor and said, you have to meet with Carefull. They're doing something that I've never seen before, and they're using AI as part of that. Todd, tell me a little bit about Carefull and exactly what the offering is.
Sure. So Carefull is a SaaS provider to banks and wealth managers, and they give it to their clients. And we are looking for elder fraud and using AI to look for mistakes. Aging financial risk is how we think about it. 2/3 of deposits in the US are held by older adults. And yet a lot of the AI and tools have been pointed at kids. And so Carefull exists so that a wealth manager or a bank or a credit union can provide something to take care of this customer who traditionally has been pretty underserved.
So you market to banks and wealth management companies,
yes,
and they embed this technology. Is it a value add?
It's a value add typically. It's part of their offer. It's part of their planning offer, or it's a benefit of working with them. And what they get is they protect from elder fraud, and that means romance scams and strange charitable donations and all the strange things that happen with older adults. But at the same time, they get to retain those assets and bring the family in.
And tell me about this gray matter AI engine that I heard so much about on the show floor today.
Yeah, so Gray Matter is Carefull's proprietary AI engine that powers, really our brain that powers our alerts. And we're looking for things like a romance scam, for example. So romance scams is it's not transactional, right? I think a lot of fraud, even AI fraud protection, is looking for transactions. The issue with romance scams is it's behavioral. And with older adults, it's almost always them. It's them believing they have a girlfriend in Poland that they don't and wanting to send money because they've been convinced. It's them, right? And so Gray Matter's pattern recognition can understand what normal looks like for that person and establish a baseline and then see deviation.
It looks for behaviors that the banks and the wealth management companies don't look for, but are vital to understanding the whole entire planning
100%,
process.
100%. Because what happens with elder fraud and senior exploitation is it happens way before they want to do a transaction. It's a new relationship. It's a first crypto payment to someone they may or may not know. It's an investment scam. It's pig butchering. It's money mules. All of this stuff that happens can be seen earlier and signals around their behavior.
Todd, when did this come to you? When was the aha moment that there was this vast need, no one was filling it with regard to seniors and the mature market?
Yeah, sure. So I spent the last chapter of my life building products for banks and wealth managers, and everything was for kids. And take the latest technology and let's figure out how we engage the next generation. And I sort of felt, one, an underserved commercial opportunity in that 2/3 of deposits are still with older adults. And then two, that the way to engage the next generation may be to take care of the client that you actually have and have them bring their kids in, right? And not leave them so you can go get a different customer. And so kind of had that insight while developing products for wealth platforms, and then decided really, after selling my last company, to focus on it. Found my co-founder, Max Goldman, who leads our product and a lot of what we've unveiled yesterday. And together, I think we've built something that fills this gap in the market where it's just deeply underserved.
And I think in the wealth management market, this is a particularly unique offering, right? Because there is this whole issue about wealth managers who lose connection with the family.
Yes.
So I think it's a great value add for wealth managers.
Yeah.
But there's also just the natural leakage and the risk that comes with this kind of management.
Yeah.
And it's a value add in the world today that we live in with wealth management, which was highly commoditized.
Yes.
Very difficult to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
And especially as investments become more competitive.
100%.
This is an excellent way for wealth management and for RIAs to give a little bit additional, which really makes that relationship more sticky and puts you in the center of the trusted advisory.
Absolutely. 9 out of 10 people, 9 out of 10 will not use their parents' advisor. And that's the Cerulli data that still is true.
That's wild. I never heard that
9
stat
out of 10.
before.
And so if the idea, we get 2 trusted contacts every time someone onboards Carefull. The kids get involved in a natural way. And so we think about this as, we call it PRT, protect, retain, transfer for a wealth manager. Right? The idea of I want to protect this customer and client in ways that they frankly should get from their wealth manager, bolster my offer, retain them and retain this relationship, because when the kids get involved, that money's gone. So we want to retain that relationship and then be there with what we call share of family, meaning I want to have a whole family
Absolutely.
relationship ahead of a wealth transfer moment.
So help me understand, if you're 55 years old, perhaps you're a caregiver, right, to an older mother or father who may be 80 years old. What do they see? What does the caregiver see?
Yeah, so it really depends on what they've been permissioned to see. And this is important to maintain the agency of the older adult. But they can see, if they're properly permissioned, transactions. They can see just alerts, meaning it looks like someone's might be the victim of a scam, or what we call concerning patterns. Sometimes we'll have access to password management. That's often needed, but you got to get that stuff out of the kitchen drawer. Home title monitoring, $1 million of identity theft insurance for the whole family. And so they're able to see transactional issues, identity theft issues, dark web monitoring leaks, so they can see wherever there's smoke, we want to catch it before it becomes fire.
Well, how much of a problem is this with senior fraud? Do you have any numbers that could help quantify?
We are at $61 billion annually of elder fraud, according to the FTC, and that number is growing. Only 1 in 44 of these instances goes reported. Right? People don't talk about this stuff because, unfortunately, 2/3 of it comes from within the trusted circle. So while we always have to look at like the text that they're getting saying they have a toll bridge, unpaid toll, payment, you also have to look at someone who maybe has access to that client. And particularly in the wealth space, advisors know this. They see it all the time of what we call systematic drain, someone who's ostensibly helping, but helping themselves at the same time.
Well, and with AI, it's just become legion. These scams are so well done.
Yeah.
They can look so personalized to the individual that if you're 80 years old and you're not aware of these things,
Yes.
you can easily fall prey to them by the social engineering that they do in
Exactly.
these scams.
Exactly, and it's frankly not fair. So this has nothing to do with being smart. This has nothing to do with being sophisticated. It has nothing to do with being wealthy. There is the wealthiest, most sophisticated clients you know are just as vulnerable as maybe someone you'd expect, right? As someone else you might think. These things are tailored, and so our job is to tilt the scales a bit, right? We want to see these things, understanding that they may have gotten a text saying that the IRS needs to speak to them and can you give some personal
Absolutely.
information, or that their grandchild is in trouble, or all the things that are built and really well disguised to get them to behave in certain ways.
Well, it's so refreshing to see a presenter here today that's just not doing well for the financial markets, but I think is doing well for humanity. So
Really appreciate that.
congratulations. I'm sure to keep an eye on you because I think there's a lot of applications in the things that we hold dear in my business, which is wealth management, RIAs, and I think
Yes.
it's something that elderly and seniors can really gain a peace of mind, and their caregivers. So
I really appreciate that. And the wealth and RIA groups are the fastest growing part of our business. I think they get it right away. And it's one of those things that's just intuitive. The idea of financial safety being part of a value proposition that's around wealth has really resonated.
yeah,
so
that's
really
a chest high
appreciate it.
fastball. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
So that's a wrap from Money 2020 as we close out the show here from the Venetian in Las Vegas. It's been an exciting few days. We've met with a ton of people here in Las Vegas. We've talked about how technology is revolutionizing financial services, and particularly how AI is playing a major role in all kinds of aspects, from de-risking investments to smoking out fraud on a global basis. So thanks for being with us, and we'll be here next year.
This podcast is a production of Gregory. If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to continue exploring the transformative power of AI, please check out more episodes and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.